Hey y'all, I'm Dr. Lakeisha Watson. If you're new here, I'm an epidemiologist and data storyteller, translating data into public health insights for Black women. Every Friday, I drop Epi Fridays, which is a weekly video series where we take public health data, translate it, and make it real, relatable, and relevant to our everyday lives. So come back on Friday for that video. But today, it is not an Epi Fridays video, but it is my birthday. So I wanted to slow down and share a more personal look at my dissertation research, which was really the research that really shaped me as an epidemiologist. So let's get into it. So I earned my PhD in epidemiology from the University of Maryland College Park in 2022, and my research focused on how social and structural conditions influence HIV-related outcomes, particularly among Black women. And the reason I chose this work is because, well, it was actually twofold. So I wanted to be very intentional about what I brought to the field of epi. I wanted my work to reflect who I am at the core, which is a scholar pushing the knowledge of what we know about health among Black women in the realm of social and structural conditions, right? But the other reason was the data itself. No matter how I looked at it, Black women were carrying a disproportionate burden, and what I was reading in the literature, it wasn't adding up. So with that, let's talk about HIV in the US. In 2023, even though Black people made up about 12% of the population, we accounted for almost 40% of HIV diagnoses. And for Black women, we represented 13% of the female population, but accounted for 50% of HIV diagnoses among women. But here's what's important to understand and what often gets missed. So these disparities are not explained by behavior. Research shows that Black women report similar and sometimes safer sexual behaviors compared to other groups. So if behavior isn't the explanation, then what is it, right? So that question was really the grounding force of my dissertation. I grounded my dissertation research in two key frameworks: intersectionality and syndemic theory. Intersectionality helps us understand how overlapping social identities like race, gender, and class shape people's lived experiences, right? So it reminds us that Black women aren't just navigating racism or sexism or economic inequality, we're often navigating all of them at the same time. And syndemic theory helps explain what happens when multiple risk factors interact with each other to amplify vulnerability to disease. So when I put these two frameworks together, it showed me something really important, which is that it is not enough to focus on behaviors when we think about HIV, right? It's about systems, structures, and psychosocial challenges acting together. So instead of treating challenges like depression, housing instability, or neighborhood poverty as separate issues, my dissertation examined how these factors overlap and reinforce one another. Because in real life, stress doesn't show up one issue at a time, right? We are often navigating many different stressors, many different challenges at the same time. So I looked at these challenges in three key ways. First, I examined cumulative burden. So basically asking how many challenges is someone dealing with at once. The more layers of stress and instability someone experiences, the greater the impact on their health outcomes. Second, I looked at where those challenges were coming from and grouping them into three levels: psychosocial factors, which were things like history of childhood sexual abuse, intimate partner violence, depression, and substance use; structural factors at the individual level, which were things like food insecurity, unstable housing, or lack of health insurance; and then neighborhood level factors, which were things like living in neighborhoods characterized by high poverty, unemployment, and vacant houses. And finally, I looked at how many of those levels someone was exposed to: 0, 1, 2, or all three. Because there's a big difference between dealing with stress in one area of your life and navigating challenges in your neighborhood, in your mental health, your household, all at the same time. What the data showed was clear. As exposures increased across more levels and more systems, HIV risk behaviors increased and HIV care outcomes among Black women living with HIV worsened. And what this means is that it's not one thing pushing risk and care outcomes, it's everything happening all at once. When mental health, housing, income, and neighborhood conditions collide, health outcomes suffer. This research is actually the reason why I do Epi Fridays the way I do. Our health outcomes are really so much more than our behaviors. It's about what we're carrying emotionally, financially, and structurally, and all at the same time. I cannot say that enough. And once you see that, you really can't unsee it. You stop asking why people don't just do better, and you start asking why so many of us are being asked to survive under so much. That shift changed how I see health, how I tell stories with data, and how I show up in this space. We are naming the full picture over here with the hopes of making room for more honesty, more compassion, and better conversations about what Black women actually need. So that was a glimpse behind my dissertation, the research that helped me understand how social identities, systems, and structural conditions come together to shape HIV outcomes among Black women. Thank you for celebrating a little bit of my birthday with me and for being here. I'm Dr. Lakeisha Watson, and I will see y'all Friday on Epi Fridays, where we'll keep translating data into stories that make public health personal. All right, y'all. Bye.